God damn it, Warner Brothers. You just won't let me do my Let's Talk on a remake of The Lost World. Okay, let's talk about this goddamn Kong trailer. Well, all jokes aside, there's a brand new Kong Skull Island trailer that came out this week, and as you guys saw from my reaction, I'm quite excited. But we're gonna go into a bit of further detail and talk about the trailer and all the new shots that came out. Okay, so the first bit of the trailer does show a bit of new footage from the movie and shows the expedition to Skull Island, and I have to say it looks a lot similar to the 1976 King Kong. Especially the brief meeting scene where they discuss the island and the photographs and everything. It's much similar to when Fred Wilson and his group discussed Skull Island in the 1976 version. Another thing I really like about this trailer is that they show the seismic charges that they used to map the island. If you guys remember in the 1976 remake, they said that they were using seismic charges to map the area on the island. Well, in this movie, we actually get to see the seismic charges, and it looks like these seismic charges are in a bit of the explosive variety, which is why Tom Hiddleston looks a little concerned about what they're doing. Especially given the fact that this does take place during the Vietnam era. But of course, as they chopper into the island, they come across none other than King Kong himself, and in these new shots that we see of him, he looks incredible. I really love the design of Kong in this movie. The main thing I love about this Kong is that it sticks closely to what the original design from the 33 film looks like, but it updates it appropriately. In fact, he looks like a lot of the previous Kongs kind of blended together in a sandwich, which I actually really like. I love the fact that he has brown hair, I love the fact that he walks upright, and I really love the fact that he still, in some ways, looks like a gorilla-ape hybrid, which is something that the original film had a lot of reference from. And what I really like about the design as well is that he has these red eyes, these almost glowing red eyes that make him look terrifying, and it reminded me a lot of the King Kong encounter at Universal Studios Hollywood, which I also think is a nice touch. But you know what's really interesting about this Kong design, guys, is that he looks a lot like Peter Jackson's stop-motion puppet that he made when he was remaking Kong when he was 12 on Super 8, and I thought that actually was kind of interesting. If you compare the puppet and the Kong in this movie, they do look somewhat alike. And then, of course, we find out that, yes, John Goodman is a part of the Monarch Group, the company that's keeping track of all these giant monsters, including Godzilla in the 2014 film, and it's pretty obvious that they are setting up for Kong vs. Godzilla, which I am definitely looking forward to. Then we get some more shots of the natives, which actually has a huge twist to it. It turns out that the natives are actually friends with John C. Reilly, who looks like he actually might be a World War II veteran that was stuck on the island, and there's a big theory going around that actually him and the natives were actually American and Japanese soldiers from World War II who were shipwrecked on the island and had to survive for 20 years. Hence why there's a big ship that kind of represents the wall of the island and how they all have come to worship Kong as a god or a king of the island. Now, one thing that a lot of people are pointing out about John C. Reilly's character is what it says on the back of his jacket, and it says, "Good for your health," which when I first saw that, I'm like, oh my god, it's a Dr. Steve Bloom reference! That is one of the funniest Easter eggs I've ever seen, and coming from a guy who watches Tim and Eric, I think it's a really fun little side gag. And then, of course, we have another great shot of Kong showing his massive scope and how big this fucker is. And holy crap is he huge. It does look like later on when he fights Godzilla some 40 years later, he is gonna grow a bit more to show that he's a match for the giant monster, and I think that's also a really nice touch. I also love this little bit by the river, and it reminded me a lot of the waterfall scene in the 1976 film. But then, of course, in the trailer, we get another twist to the story. It turns out that Kong's arch rivals are not going to be dinosaurs, which honestly is a little disappointing, but they're going to be a new set of creatures called skull crawlers, which look kind of like the lizard versions of the Mutos from the 2014 Godzilla, and from the look of the design, they're kind of two-legged lizards of sorts. Now keep in mind, guys, the skull crawlers, as it turns out, takes a lot of inspiration from the original film. You guys remember that scene where Kong's trying to grab Jack in the chasm, and then that two-legged lizard climbs up to get him, but then Jack cuts the vine? Well, it looks like the skull crawlers are basically the two-legged lizard from the original film, but scaled up to fight Kong. We then of course get some more shots of Kong, which look amazing in this film, but one of the things I noticed is that Brie Larson is kind of reaching her hand out to Kong, so it makes me wonder if they are going to do the Beauty and the Beast aspect in some regards, but not fully. I know the director said there's no Beauty and the Beast tie-in, but it wouldn't be a Kong film without that kind of formula. And as you guys can tell, there aren't much in terms of dinosaurs in this movie. We did see a Triceratops skull, but it makes me think that the skull crawlers have pretty much killed all the dinosaurs left on this island, and all that are really left are them, Kong, and some other Ice Age-esque creatures that are on the island, which is a bit of a disappointment, but hey, it's a Kong film, and I'll be waiting to see what's in store for this new installment. And then, of course, we get a Call of Duty-esque shot of them shooting the giant spider, which at first I thought it was going to be Kumonga, and then, of course, Kong would fight Kumonga, but I don't think that's going to be the case, and I think it's just going to be a giant daddy long-legged spider of sorts that's just one of the creatures on the island. We then get some more action shots, and apparently there's this one scene in which Kong's fighting the soldiers on ground, and it's all fire and everything, but one of the things that caught my eye is that in this scene, it looks like Kong is slightly smaller. I know there's a theory that there might be 2 or 3 Kongs on the island, but it makes me wonder if the big Kong's massive, is the little Kong Kiko from Song of Kong? Because I think that'd be kind of interesting to see. Maybe he even gets killed and that's why Kong's so pissed. Then there's more action shots with the main cast, and finally we get a great shot of Kong thumping his chest and looking badass as ever. So my overall thoughts on this trailer and the upcoming film, I think it's going to be fantastic, and it's definitely the one movie I'm looking forward to this summer. It's got some great action scenes. I love how they're bringing Kong back to the present day and showing that you can make a King Kong movie without going back to the 1930s all the time. The creature designs are new and interesting, and Kong overall looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see this movie when it comes out on March 10th to entertain everybody, and keeping an eye out for when Kong and Godzilla fight in 2020. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on the Kong Skull Island trailer, and I can't wait to see the movie. But what did you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. And I think that's going to be it for a little while in terms of Kong Skull Island stuff on Let's Talk, but I want to talk about more stuff in the future. So until the next video, guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later. This is BigJackFilms, signing off.